Grok made some waves this past week. Specifically, XAI introduced a new model called Grok-3. So what's interesting about this is that it is various different foundational models being introduced, but it can analyze images, respond to questions, and obviously it's based upon data that's within the social network X, formerly known as Twitter. So what's very interesting about this is it's leveraging the new data center that Elon Musk and XAI put together. This is the one that has 200,000 GPUs to train this latest model. So in a post recently on X by Musk, he noted that Grok-3 was developed with 10 times, give or take, the computing power of its predecessor, which was Grok-2. And it expanded its use of data sets to do the actual training. So obviously, again, leveraging all the data that's on X and everything else. So what's actually in Grok-3? So it's actually two new models within the Grok-3 family. There's not only is there Grok-3 and Grok-3 Mini, but then there's also a reasoning component. So this is definitely the way of the future. If you haven't realized already, between O3, Google has its reasoning model. Obviously, we've seen the Chinese company DeepSeek with R1 and their reasoning model. So no different here for Grok. So they come in two different flavors: the Grok-3 reasoning and the Grok-3 Mini reasoning. Of note, the reasoning models are still being trained. They kind of released the beta of that. I'll do a quick little demo in a second. But what's interesting here is that XAI claims that the Grok-3 reasoning model surpasses the best versions that are out there currently today from OpenAI, that being the O3 Mini model. And it actually scored higher on various different benchmarks, those being like the AIME 2025 benchmark. And there's also other benchmarks in terms of just usability, some of those blind, quote unquote, model tests. So the Grok-3 Mini model, again, it's really meant to be a quick model to answer, obviously answer questions. So this is smaller model, priced cheaper, but there's things to note that not all of the features from these models are actually out yet. There's the concept of having interactive voice with these models, not available yet. So these would be coming to both the Grok-3 and Grok-3 Mini. So as I just mentioned, the voice mode will be coming soon. Also, the other thing too is these models, they're not available on the API yet, but they will be available soon with the API. There's a couple of other interesting things that were noted with this, or at least with the announcement of Grok-3. And to me, it's about the open source side of it. So what Elon Musk had mentioned is whatever the previous version, after a couple months after a model's been released, Elon Musk plans to make the previous version open source. So what that means, let's say, 3 months or so after Grok-3 is out there available from an API, Grok-2 will be made available open source. So again, that will drive shareability, as well as then theoretically drive price down, because things are open source and you can run it the way that you want to. For today, the highest level, or the beta version of the Reasoner, is really only available to subscribers of the premium tier, which is $50 a month, and they'll be the first ones to get Grok-3 and some of the other features that are, quote unquote, gated behind these plans. And that's been touted as Super Grok. So we'll see how that transpires. Now, what I can tell you is some things have been released, and let me just share my screen. I'll just run through a couple of quick things with you, and you can see at least some of the things that I have been working with. So this is Grok-3. This is their landing page. You can scroll through this. We'll have this in the show notes. But what I wanted to bring you to is some of the comparisons. So I mentioned this AIME, and they look at where does this fit. So they're comparing against things like DeepSeek or Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, as well as in the O1 and O3 models. And obviously they're touting this as being better than any of those other products and services that are out there today from the other ones. There's a couple of other things you can read on this one, but again, I bring it down to these other benchmarks, whether or not it's the AIME, and this is the 24 version, or the MMLU Pro. Again, this touts higher scores than something like a GPT-4 model, which is not a reasoning model, or these other models as well. So proof is in the pudding, right? So you got to test these things out. So you can hit this today. So if you just go to X and then hit Grok, you can actually work with this, and you can see it comes up automatically with Grok-3 and beta. Now, there are things that are here. So I could switch into deep search. We're not talking about this today, but there's deep research from OpenAI, deep research from Google. Perplexity actually just came out with a deep research tool as well over the last week. Grok is no different. So there's a deep search capability. There's also thinking. So they're slightly different. The deep search is going to be more of that formulation and coming up with many different sources to come up with more of like a research analysis. The thinking is more of your traditional reasoning thought process. And then, you could either toggle these things on or off. All right. So I did do a quick prompt. And if you had followed along when we did our DeepSeek episode, that I used a reasoning quote unquote prompt for terraforming Mars. So I used the same prompt that I did for the O3 Mini High, as well as the DeepSeek. And, this is the output. It thought for about 28 seconds. I will tell you that when it was going through its thought process, it actually showed the reasoning, but when it's done, it removes that reasoning. I don't necessarily like that. I'd like to see how it thought and came up with it. I did look and compare like the answers. It was, pretty good. I still think the O3 Mini model is the best. I actually think DeepSeek came out a little bit better as well in terms of the answer. But again, you're kind of shielded from the reasoning that this thing does. But overall, again, this is the non-paid. I'm on the free, so you could actually hit some of the stuff now in a limited fashion. So you can try it out as well.
Yeah, I think as far as the Grok is concerned, I don't think that they will be able to get a lead over other models. I think that at best they will try to catch up. Right, they're behind. Even though Elon Musk has thrown a lot of compute right there, he has done some amazing things as far as the infrastructure is concerned. So I think the catching up is pretty fast. Actually, that's impressive. But I don't think that they are still having the lead. Plus, I think their end game is. I'm not sure if their end game is enterprise. I think they have enough on their own, like X, etc., as a user base of these models. Unlike Llama, I think Llama has found some footing within the enterprise as well, other than what they're using within the Meta's family of all the apps, etc. So I think the Grok kind of is on the line of Llama, but I think Llama is much more widely respected as well as adopted.